Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Tuesday, April 6, 2021 regular meeting of the Hendry County School Board. I ask you, if you're so inclined, to please stand and join us for the invocation, which will be delivered by Pastor Jeff Smith from the First United Methodist Church of Lewiston.
Would you close your eyes and bow your heads with me tonight? Gracious and loving Father, we thank you for bringing us together for such a good and common purpose. On the heels of Resurrection Sunday, we also want to take a moment and ask that your arms of love and comfort be around this community, and especially around a family that has lost us. Help our children learn and become all that they can be. So, Father, tonight I ask your special blessing upon our community, upon our board, district superintendent, the leadership. I pray also, Father, for our schools, for our administrators, for our teachers, and especially our children. Help us to be the best that we can be. Help us to celebrate our successes, and help us to learn from things that we could have done better. Help us to always give praise and thanks for all that you provide for us from day to day. And let us be grateful and embrace each other, loving each other along the way and helping each other be achievers and doers and serving each other. And in Christ's name we pray all of these good things. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Join us for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Superintendent. At this time, do you have any presentations on the agenda?
We do have a couple presentations tonight. The first presentation that we have is from Westside Elementary, and here to get us started we have Ms. Sarah Sanchez, the principal.
Longest password ever. I'm ready. Are you ready? Good evening. Tonight I have the privilege to tell you a little bit about an amazing school, Westside Elementary. I have brought with me some supportive staff members, Ms. Massey, the assistant principal, our Westside leadership team, and a few members of our student lighthouse team. At Westside, it is all about the kids, and I hope within the next few minutes you see the love and passion that our tribe has to ensure that every child is a leader and grows academically. This is our staff photo. It represents the different strengths and personalities of each staff member. It also represents that educators can get a job done no matter the obstacles that are placed in front of them. Whether it's low background knowledge in reading or COVID protocols, where there is a will, warriors will find a way. So who are we? We are a school that believes that every child can be a warrior and learn the warrior way. The warrior way is a mindset that we have here at Westside, that every child can be a leader. We are a leader in me school that embodies a holistic approach of education. We are here not only to teach the standards, but also create learners that are great citizens in our community. Leadership, culture, and academic are core beliefs we have. We will now share with you a little bit about how each core value is guiding our journey to become a school of excellence. Student empowerment and leadership is always at the forefront of our thinking. And today we have a few of our student leaders from our student lighthouse team that is going to share with you about student leadership and creating a culture of student empowerment. Yeah, Lily.
student leadership at Westside. At Westside, we truly believe every student is a leader. Throughout the year, students are given multiple opportunities to lead, whether it's applying for leadership roles, participating on the student lighthouse team, or being part of our safety patrol program. Westside students use their individual strengths to improve our school daily. Warriors apply for school-wide leadership roles every quarter based on their interests and strengths. School-wide leadership roles include the greeter leaders, announcement leaders, warrior update leaders, library leaders, and news reporter leaders. Once applications are complete, they are reviewed.
We have science labs once a week for all 5th grade students. So a leader in me status, I can't come up here and not talk about leader in me and shine some light somewhere we are in our journey to this. Westside started this journey of Lighthouse several years ago, and we are currently going through our Lighthouse review process. It's very similar to a school accreditation program process. Very intense, lots of interviews, binders that had to be sent. So in March, our coach for Leader in Me recommended for us to continue our Lighthouse certification. And so we're on the last leg of this journey to become a Lighthouse school. There are only 500 Lighthouse schools worldwide, and we can be one of them. We're so close. So we want to become that Lighthouse beacons for other schools to be Leader in Me. And if we're granted this certification, we will be a model school for other schools to visit and replicate all the wonderful things happening. I want to thank you so much for your time, and thank you for being part of our tribe, because we cannot do this alone. We need everybody in this room, and it's always a great day to be a warrior. And I would like to end, if I have a few minutes to do a video. Do I have it, or? Yeah. Okay. So here are some students that didn't get to join us today, and it says, "What do you love about Westside?" Hopefully it'll play.
And I'm in 4th grade.
What do you love about Westside?
I love the teachers and basically everyone.
Tell me about Leader in Me.
Leader in Me is a program that helps you learn new choices and habits that teach you to do good things.
How has it changed you?
It changed me by helping me learn how to make good choices and habits. And learn for me to be kind to everyone and be nice, I guess.
My name is Hendry. What is Leader in Me school?
Well, you have to teach other students to be a leader.
Are you a leader at school?
Yes.
You have to make good choices?
Not all the time, but sometimes.
My name is Giovanni, and I'm in 4th grade.
What do you love about Westside?
I love that it makes you feel better about yourself, and it helps you learn.
Tell me about Leader in Me.
Leader in Me is literally help you feel better about yourself, let your voice, let you talk.
How has it changed you?
It changed me, like, I wanted to, first I learned just to be alone, and now I just want to have more friends and help others.
My name is Case and I'm in 4th grade.
Thank you, Kason. What do you love about Westside?
I love how Westside makes you push, and it doesn't make you, it doesn't frustrate you too much. And teachers will help you, but they won't help you all the time, so you can get it done.
Good. Tell me about Leader in Me.
Leader in Me is a process where you can either be really good or you can be bad, but mostly you want to be bad, or you want to be good.
That's right. How has it changed you?
A couple of years ago, I was just a kid that kept skipping school because I didn't like it. But now, since I've been at Westside, I've always liked school.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, time, for your...
Are there any questions from the board?
No, but I really appreciate you brought some students in the video.
Oh, thank you.
I just love seeing the kids.
I do too. It's all about the kids. That's what we're here for every day.
If I may ask, if Lily can come back up to the microphone and just, I just love her, and describe, she gave a gift to the board members and the district leadership team. And so, do you want to use mine, Lily, as an example? And so I just wanted her to show this off. It's really cool.
What you have here is an ABCs of Henry County, which is a book with letters in it, and the letters were created by students, so each student got to pick a letter and then a word to describe Henry County, and they got to draw a picture, and then describe why they chose that word, and then they signed their name. So we all put it in a book to show how we like Hendry County.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. It's all about the kids. That's how you started out and how you ended. Great job. You're doing a great job with the leadership and the students. So keep up the good work. Thank you very much. And next on our agenda, we have, it says Miss Kimberly Stitt, but Miss Stitt is not here. We actually have Miss Mann, and she holds a title. What's the title she holds in the district right now? Teacher of the Year? So we're going to let her make a quick presentation as well.
Yes. Oh, great job, Westside. So glad we share a building. So I'm here to present from last year. We have a Teacher Leadership Academy. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. It began with an idea that we cannot send our innovative and dedicated teachers all over the country or the world or the county to learn new ideas for student success in the classroom. We would bring that training here to Hendry County. The Teacher Leadership Academy asks teachers to dedicate approximately 65 to 80 hours of their time of professional development, not getting paid. On innovative teaching models and practices. They completed 2 to 3 book studies on school culture, working with children from traumatized backgrounds. We utilize a trainer model where the HCEA sends teachers to national conferences to learn new ideas and approaches, and they are researched and incorporated into this program. So I started the program 2 years ago with Ms. Stitt. I was a candidate, and then I went to Leadership Academy in Chicago, and from there Ms. Pearson and myself came back, and we have, on our side of the county, we had several people, and then LaBelle side. So I'm especially proud of these candidates because they ended up when we were in the pandemic. So these teachers met via Google Meet in the midst of trying to figure out how to teach virtually and how to continue on the program. These educators go above and beyond daily, and their hard work and dedication should not go unnoticed. Hendry County should be extremely proud of these teachers. The following teachers are graduates of the Leadership Academy for 2019-2020 school year. The following, Ms. Kathleen Johnson from Eastside, she's not present today. And when I call her name, if you can just come on up here. Yes. The first is Tammy Mitchell from Eastside. Congratulations. No. Miss Morris. Here, let me get it. She was at Central and now is at the Middle Slope showing her. Miss Hannah from Eastside Elementary. Miss Wheeler from Central Elementary. Great job. Miss Gutierrez from Eastside Elementary. Good job. Ms. Arundel from Westside Elementary. Good job, congratulations. And Ms. Ruiz from Westside Elementary. Took a long walk, I should. Good job. So, congratulations to all of our graduates.
Ready? Oh, wait, this is my All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I would like to say as well, we have some beautiful schools, some great facilities, some wonderful opportunities to ride some of the greatest buses in the world. Nothing matches the high-quality teachers and the quality of leadership that we have in Hendry County. I'm so just taken back by the fact that y'all went through 60-plus hours on your own time to make this happen. The fact that you care enough to do that for the students of Hendry County is just remarkable. So thank you so much, and I look forward to the future with all of you.
So those of you who would like to stay, we would love to have you, but if you're here just for presentations and you would like to go, this would be the time. Thank you all so much for coming. Great job, students.
All right, those were some excellent presentations, and I think that I echo the sentiments of the entire board, just how impressed we were with both Westside's presentation and the commitment that the teachers who went through the Leadership Academy have shown our students, and that's pretty fantastic. Moving forward, to citizen comment on agenda items that we received. Is anybody here who wants to speak on an agenda item, or have we received any emails? Okay, seeing no citizen comments, we'll move forward to the consent agenda. Are there any item on the consent agenda any member of the board would like to have moved into an action item? Okay, at this time, I'm going to request to move item I, the bills from March 25th to action item B. Okay, Superintendent, do I have a recommendation?
I recommend approval of the balance of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed, the consent agenda passes unanimously. On action items, we are going to have a hearing for FRS Senior Management class as advertised. This time I will open the hearing for any comments. Seeing no comments, I will close this hearing. Superintendent, do I have a recommendation?
Recommend approval of the FRS Senior Management class as advertised.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Action item A passes unanimously. Action item B, bills from 3/25/21. I would ask at this time to please remove Anthony Buson's name from that bill list. And can I have a recommendation for the balance of the bills?
Recommend approving the balance of the bills minus the bills with Anthony Buson's name.
Thank you. Got a recommendation? Do I have a second? A motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Action item B, or the balance of the March 25th bills, excluding Anthony Busen, passes unanimously. And then it would be the approval of the reimbursement for Anthony Busen that was included in the March 25th bills. Do I have a recommendation?
I recommend to approve the balance of the bills, including Anthony Busen in the bills.
Okay, and because that's a family member, I will be abstaining from this vote. Do I have a recommendation? Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0 with Busen abstaining. Moving forward to board member business, we have approval of dues and fees for the 2021-22 Florida School Board Association membership dues. Superintendent, do I have a recommendation?
I recommend approval of the 2021-22 Florida School Board Association membership dues.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously for dues and fees. We have our financial statement, which is an FYI. So at this time, it's pretty light agenda tonight. So do we have board member business starting with Reverend Brown?
Is it possible for us to maybe when it happen, we're gonna get our clock back? That was a yes?
Facilities Director, would it be possible to get our clock back in the boardroom?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
All right, good decision.
And also, the presentation was outstanding, the presentation tonight was outstanding. Outstanding.
I agree.
I didn't think preachers like people watching the clock.
Oh, man. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Samradine.
Yeah, just a few things. We went over our personnel hiring tonight, and I just want to mention that I've met with Sarah Cox and Jason Brown. I think they're two outstanding people and are going to continue to raise the bar for Hendry County Schools. And I wanted to say that because I'm very impressed. Also, Mr. Buse, we've had quite a bit of changes here in the county office and with the data center here in Lewiston. Could you update us on where we're at?
Yes, sir. On March 24th, we moved the human resource, the superintendent and Ms. Beverly Thompson and the boardroom over to the outreach center. So that's our new LaBelle administration building. So that is moved in and they're all tucked in and ready to rock and roll over there. The ESE move at LES. The offices are all sheetrocked and being painted as we speak right now. The carpet, I saw a picture of it today. The carpet's being laid. We should be ready to move in we have the wiring and the cables and the phone drops will be started on Monday by Communication Connections. And then as soon as the phone lines are in, we're going to start moving the ESE department in. They're packing up their things right now, and we'll try to have a nice seamless move like we did with the LaBelle administration building. The closing server room, we got to pour some concrete in to keep our servers up above the water line. The fiber was pulled from the main road over here. As you can see, we have a piece of concrete that we do not have brick yet, but we had to run 4 large 4-inch pipes across there to pull fiber from the road. All the walls are up, the office studs are complete. The sheetrock will be completed tomorrow. Electrical wiring is completed in both rooms. The concrete pads for the generator and the propane tank will be poured by the end of the week. We'll be installing the transfer switch and the generator as soon as we got approved tonight, so the POs will cut, so we'll be able to get our generator order here in the very near future. The fire suppression should be in, and I don't have a date on it, but the fire suppression for the server room will be installed. And then painted flooring, and then we'll be moving the servers in on July 12th. Tentatively, we've been ahead of schedule in a lot of different areas. And then also the IT department moving to, some of the IT department moving to LYDA. We are getting the 2 roofs replaced. We found some issues with that, so we went ahead and get the 2 roofs replanted. And after the roofs are replaced, we're going to have some painting and flooring done, and then drop the phone lines and drop the computer lines, and we'll be on schedule, I believe, sir. Probably before schedule.
Great. Well, thank you, Mr. Beers. That sounds like everything's moving along well. It was a big process.
Well, the LaBelle maintenance crew and the Clewiston maintenance crew and, our outside vendors have been doing a great job. They've been directing traffic and getting things done. So we're moving right along, sir.
Great. Appreciate it. And one last question. In our board business, we had property deletion items, and it's delete. Where does that stuff go? Do we throw it in the trash? What happens with that?
May I answer that question?
You're recognized.
They usually see it sent to the warehouse. We have some shredding that we have to do for any kind of files that we have, and we have to have it professionally shred. Any kind of computer or old smart boards or old laptops or anything that has IT or thing, we have a vendor come in and pick them up by the semi-truck load. We put them in a big 4x5 box and we pack them, wrap them in plastic, and then take them away. So we try to do a very good job of recycling, working with the environment and also doing the right thing with our recycling.
Well, thank you, Mr. Beers, and I appreciated that update on that. I just wasn't sure what they did with it. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Pasquin?
I'm good, thank you.
I expected it.
I thought we were gonna get it.
I took a big breath. I'm like, oh goodness.
We've got jumpy here tonight. Board Member Nelson.
I do. I brought this up at the last board meeting, and Superintendent, I was wondering if we could discuss our mask policy again. I know that you've been in contact with the health department. Would you like to apprise the board and the community of some of your conversation with Dr. Pepe?
Absolutely. And just tell me how far you want me to go and what you specifically.
Well, just like you go.
Okay.
I'd like you to discuss your discussion about the mask policy, and then I'd like to talk about perhaps having volunteers back on campus. What do we do about employees or students that have had vaccinations? And where do we stand with quarantining?
Okay, sure. Sure, absolutely. And the main thrust of all of what has gone on with COVID has come down from CDC, Centers for Disease Control, through our state health department, through our county health department. There's no doubt that last March and April, we were all in uncharted waters. We didn't know what we had our hands into or how bad this was going to be. And as we move forward as a nation, and as in Hendry County and Hendry County schools, we move forward with an abundance of caution. In doing so, quite a few things are put into place for precautionary measures. Everything from obviously those students are back in school until August, and even when we brought them back in, we're doing an enormous amount of cleaning, disinfecting, wear masks, shields between desks in many cases. So there's a lot that's been done there. So the question specifically is where are we today? Because as we know, the infection rate of COVID is down considerably. We have had a slight uptick since spring break, but even though it has upticked some, it's not been a very mathematically challenging or scary. We knew that as people got out onto the beach and traveled that it was bound to go back up a little. In my conversation today with the Hendry County Health Department, they still are not wavering from the fact that inside of facilities where air circulation is not vented like it is outside with the wind blowing, that they still are recommending that you wear face coverings. They said that they have not and don't foresee, most likely this school year, from backing off of that. They did say that with regard to shields between desks, if you're indoors and you are wearing face coverings, that it is acceptable now to remove those shields between the desks, unless you have a said student that for various reasons could not wear a mask, and we do have some of those, then you should use some type of shield. So if we have classrooms, then those are okay to remove those shields. as long as face coverings are worn. The new CDC guidelines and the direction that we received today did say that if students are outside or adults are outside and they are not in physical contact, that it was okay to not wear a mask. They said that that discretion then falls upon us. They again, and I clarified that, mind you, that it is your final decision on wearing the mask and what policy we create and that you create as a board. But we, up until this point, your board and this board has followed the recommendations of CDC and the health department. So I just wanted to make clear that at this point in time, their recommendation was that if you're outside and not in physical contact, that you could remove the mask. They said maybe make it a recommendation, but not a mandate that they had to do so like we currently have. We have not allowed any outside parties on our facilities, for the most part, with a very, very few exceptions. We are in the testing season. We are very strained for help. We do need to allow, we have certain volunteers that are either parents, grandparents, former teachers that come in and help with testing, proctoring, and handling of that. That is an absolute must that has to happen. These folks that have either workforce or been background vetted. And then they would also be subject to wearing the mask or temperature tape or whatever the normal screening process would be. And so we do need to institute that and allow those folks back on campus immediately as well. Did I cover everything?
Quarantine, what are we?
So we are, at this point in time, the health department has given us permission to bring quarantine students back to campus to test, provided the students are subject, must take a rapid test and must be free of physical symptoms, but we still have to quarantine students together away from the rest of the campus in a room or in the library or somewhere where they're not around other students. They have to be dropped off and then taken back by the parent at the end of the test, so they can't stay in school the whole day. The good news is that we have just very, very few numbers in quarantine right now. I was panicking because we had a large swath at close to middle, but I believe yesterday or today, for the most part, they all come back to school. So district-wide, it's a very small number, 1 or 2 kids per school, some schools none. And so that's not going to be a huge factor at this point in time. Those kids that cannot or will not or are not able to come in to test under the quarantine status, they can do a makeup test. And again, it'll be a small number. If it was going to be a large number, that was going to be alarming, but we're not there today. So that's the good news in this.
Then my last question, you probably don't have the answer yet because I kind of dropped it on you at the 11th hour, but if you could inquire about people who have had the vaccinations, will they be required, say, in a meeting like this, are they required to have a face covering?
Well, I believe that actually the auspice of that'll fall on this board and the policy that you choose, what you want to uphold. That's right. That's right. So Dr. Pepe's statement to me was this, and I'll read it to you because I wrote it down. No protection equals more exposure opportunity. The vaccination, to my knowledge, I'm no doctor or anything like that, but I did receive my shot, and they said you're not immune from getting it, you're not immune from carrying it. This just means that those symptomatic things, if you got it, will be way less in your system. So even though I have had the shot, if I come in contact with it and don't wear my mask, I could still be contagious to someone else.
Say that point again.
So I've had my shots. Okay. That doesn't mean that I cannot get or carry COVID, was what I was told. Again, I'm no doctor. Please don't hold my feet to the fire on that. So if I chose not to wear my mask and I come in contact with someone who had it, I could still be a transmitter or, of the COVID. So if we said, if you've had your shots, don't wear your mask, that could be, an issue. So again, with no protection, no face protection equals more opportunity for exposure at this point in time. Again, that falls on the policy-making body of this board, and you can do with that what you would like.
So as of right now, then it probably is best to just leave that portion alone if we're going to have the majority of staff and students wearing masks the duration of the school year. I don't know, how does the board?
It seems like we're setting a pattern. we're not gonna wear them, but we expect all our teachers to wear them, we expect everybody else to wear them, but we're not gonna wear it. I think that's the wrong way to go.
If you
I
have
think-
a vaccination.
Well, I've had my vaccination,
Me too.
but my point is, I think we just sort of should be primary role models here. I'd love to take them off,
Right.
but I
Well,
just
but if
think-
we're going to continue this indoors for the remainder of the school year, and that is, I would like to make a motion that we no longer require the masks outdoors. Sidewalks, I'm assuming playgrounds.
That's correct.
Playing fields.
PE
all of that.
playgrounds.
What about like the gym at UES? Is that considered an enclosed, or is there enough air circulation there? Be mask free?
I'm not sure.
They keep the doors open?
Yeah, I do not know. Yeah, we would need to look at that to
So
see.
if I'm making this motion, I would have to.
If you ask me, I would call that indoors. It's an indoor gym.
Okay, so we may. But anyhow, make the mask optional for outdoors as the health department has recommended, or allowed, not necessarily recommended. And I also would like to make a motion that teachers can remove those plastic barriers unless there is a student who cannot wear a mask. If that is part of our policy, I can't remember. So,
Would that include sporting events such as track meets and stuff like that, baseball games?
Graduations.
I'm just curious, I mean, what,
I had some sidewalks, if they're traveling outside from the classroom to the office.
I don't ever wear one except for in sport. So I'm great with not wearing them at all. I'm just curious on what you.
But I do understand, for liability reasons, if the health department is still recommending in enclosed buildings that they be worn, I'm good the rest of the school year. What about summer? Will this continue on through summer?
So until this board changes that policy, it needs to
Why do you
continue.
think,
That's
did you
right.
get a feel that the health department might be wavering by?
I think that nationwide and statewide, everyone is beginning to lift and lessen restrictions. And I think that, and in Dr. Pepe's words too, was that as case numbers are at a sustainable low rate, then we can talk about taking them off indoors, to follow their recommendations. And we're not far. If we hadn't had the uptick at spring break, we probably could be there now. And so we suspect that over the next couple of weeks, hopefully by the end of school, that can be a serious discussion.
Molly, what actual authority does the Department of Health and CDC have over the school board's policy making? Is this thing? Can you all hear me? Thank you, Superintendent, members of the board, Chairwoman Buston. The CDC does not have the authority to set the policy, so that's set by the school board. You do currently have a policy in place that you adopted. It's policy 8450.01, protective facial coverings during pandemic and epidemic events. It does say that during times of elevated communicable disease, the superintendent will issue periodic guidance through school board plans, resolutions in alignment with public health officials and/or in accordance with government edicts, and include any pandemic plan developed by the district's pandemic response team. So it does say that the superintendent is going to make his plans for the pandemic based on what public health officials are saying. That's what you all adopted. You can change that. This has always been intended to be a policy that's just going to be in place during the pandemic, and that, that it will change when the situation changes and it's no longer necessary. I think one of the things that we've all, especially schools, have had to do during the pandemic is be flexible and keep learning on our feet. So I think that that's how, we came into this, and that's how we're gonna still be ending it. So I would just say that that's what the school board's chosen to do, but the school board can always change their policies, and just the guidance of the health officials has been relied on, I think, by school boards and also by the state, because it's the best information that we have at this time in making decisions on what's the safest course of action. Does that answer your question? Let me know.
It does. I mean, so long story short is they can recommend, but they really have no true authority over our decision-making process. And I think back over the year that we've had and the information that we've received, and it didn't exactly play out the way we were told it was going to play out. You know, I was looking at CDC guidelines today, and they've changed the cleaning protocol. And you know I'm always checking those bills to soap and water. And then I'm thinking about, we've got these electrostatic chargers with this extremely specific, expensive ingredients, the money that we put into that, and then, you know, now it's not, you know, playing out the way that they said it, you know, what we had to do to protect our kids. And, you know, this morning in Pasco County, their school board, or actually their superintendent made the recommendation to make masks optional. And, you know, when you consider, like when you read the fish report, or the fish reports, I know how many kids are in a classroom, I know how the square footage of it, it's absolutely not possible to do the social distancing. We've got kids eating in there together, we've got kids, FHSAAs letting kids get out there face to face and wrestle and play ball without masks. And I think that, you know, we want our decision, you know, I guess to amend our policies to reflect you know, what our collective decision is as a board. But, you know, I think that we really have to look at ourselves and what fits our county best, and, you know, maybe rely on our common sense and the data. And, you know, I feel like I could support a motion. You know, it may be scary to folks to jump in all the way with optional masks, but certainly outside, because then right now you have a baseline, and if you know, start working this way incrementally.
I think for me, I originally when I talked to Mr. Swindle about it, was can we make it optional? But I do have concerns about the liability issue. If we say that we're following health department and CDC, and then we don't, what happens if?
Where's that falling?
What happens if we make it optional and then all of a sudden we have 3 schools, their numbers explode and parents are irate, and that's where I was.
But if masks work though, then.
Just to answer that, in terms of the policy, I think that that's written pretty loosely when we say that, you know, during the times of communicable disease, the superintendent will issue guidance in alignment with public health officials, you know, and government edicts. In terms of if the governor, you know, passed a resolution that we had to follow, that would be a different story. But just in terms of how this policy is written and in terms of having to follow what community health officials say, I think that you do have more leeway there. I don't think that it is an issue of liability if we don't strictly conform to what they say. Although based on what the superintendent just said, I think he did say that the community health officials, the county health department was saying that outdoors was fine for not necessarily wearing masks or being a choice to wear a mask or not. If that's what the board is thinking about doing right now, I think that would be.
And I have a question there, because, you know, I'm a teacher of the littles. That's what I taught. Mm-hmm. And those little humans get in one another's faces. So when they're outside at recess, or they're sitting on the bench waiting to go in the classroom, or at lunch or whatever, they are going to be in each other's faces without a mask. I almost feel like we've got an apple and an orange. You know, then they go in the classroom where he sits there, she sits there, but they still have to have a mask on. I don't know.
So
it's like a part-time.
But to whoever made the common sense piece of that to me was this, because I went yesterday morning to Central Elementary and was just doing morning duty. Little kids were getting out of vehicles and running up, and I've never seen them before in my life, and they just hugged me and loved on me and told me good morning, you know, and they were doing that to each other, they're hugging, and so I'm not sure that at that point in time the common sense is that the mask really, for the littles, it's not going to be much of a deterrent for whatever they're going to be spreading, because of just the nature of their, you know, contact.
I'm afraid to get rid of it, but I know that's not what everybody else wants.
the CDC guidelines. I mean, those are the doctors. We're making decisions about people's health sitting here, but nobody has a doctor in medicine here. So I lean toward going with their recommendations. I think we're moving in that direction. I'm hoping. I wonder if they called tomorrow and said, you don't need masks anymore. I mean, get rid of them. But right now, I don't want to make a medical decision.
I think we've gotten this far, but I mean, we can wait a little longer. Whatever the CDC says, I can go on what they're saying.
I believe that was what Board Member Nelson's motion was,
Yeah.
or she was getting ready to make.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, will you restate your motion, Ms. Nelson?
Do you want to revisit the optional issue, or are you okay with keeping it mandatory indoors and making it optional?
What I would like to be transparent about is, I'm not an all or nothing person. I can support moving incrementally towards the outside, not having masks outside. But we have a baseline data right now, and so if we see a huge uptick, then we're like, okay, this is not working.
Okay.
Walk it back, but if,
So why don't we consider making a motion now to change it to what I stated I'll restate? And then at our next board meeting, or perhaps 2 board meetings from now, we'll revisit, look at the data, and if it's showing a definite downtick, perhaps the last 4 weeks of school or so, we try it.
That sounds a good thing.
And if we see that, it's still either plateaued or increasing, then we'll just keep it as is. Okay.
state your motion.
Confused that again?
I'm gonna read my motion as it was, and then within the next board meeting or 2, we'll keep an eye on the data. If the data's looking really good, we'll revisit, possibly make a new motion that will make it optional indoors.
I don't make it optional indoor, okay.
Because right now,
As
my
long as
motion
it's not an
is.
uptick from the, so you're going to give me the option to do it outside right now?
Right.
Or what your motion's going to be?
Correct.
And that's the guidelines from the CDC.
Correct.
It is.
Well, that's what they said.
Yes, that was coming from Dr. Pepe at the Health Department
This
today.
recommendation you're gonna make is gonna be right in line with what the CDC has said.
Okay, let me read my motion, and maybe, will that help you?
I need a yes or no.
Okay.
I heard
Hear
that.
this, Dr. Brown. All right, I gotta get my looking holes covered first. I would like to make a motion that we no longer require masks outdoors. They can become optional. Sidewalks, playgrounds, fields, make it optional. And I would also like to, I don't think necessarily this is part of our mask policy, but I would like teachers to know that they can remove the plastic barriers unless the student cannot wear a mask. So outside would be optional, indoors they would still be required to wear the mask.
That is in line with CDC, yes.
That is-
Do we have any additional information from other schools that have done this already?
Well,
There are some school districts going to that, yes, sir.
But they haven't done it yet.
There's some of them have been doing
They
that.
have been doing it.
Right.
I just don't want to put nobody, in harm's way. It may not never happen, but I don't want to do that. And then especially can we get some people from the health department to come in and say what would be the pros and cons of it?
Sure.
I mean-
and one good thing is Dr. Egley, Dr. Egley keeps daily track of the COVID cases and the quarantine cases. And so it's almost a daily real-time decision that we can make and watch. Or if we see it's going the wrong direction, we can immediately shut it back off, if that makes you more comfortable as well.
And Rev, I'll tell you, last week and the week before, and my days were all jumbled, I volunteer sub for a pre-K class. So I had 20 little ones, and
I see
90% of the time, we're at recess. It's 92 degrees outside at 9:30 in the morning. They've got their masks down, they're touching, and I'm constantly walking around, put your mask on, hands off. But they're touching what each other's touching, they're doing
Yep.
So it's already being done, just not quite to the capacity of actually taking the whole mask off. But they are definitely, they're hot, and I get it. So outdoors doesn't bother me nearly as much. You've got fresh air, you've got sunshine. And I can understand where the health department's coming from with indoors in their own right, with the air recirculated, but outdoors for sure.
So we all are in line with what the CDC says.
It's acceptable by CDC standards.
All right.
Which has been passed down to our local health department. So there goes my motion.
And the CD said you could also remove the barriers
unless you have a student that cannot wear a mask. And now, would that just be the barrier for that student, or would they have to remain in the entire classroom?
No, just that student. So basically the barrier becomes the mask.
So if you couldn't wear a mask, that would be your mask.
Right, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Molly, is this going to require any kind of like policy hearing, or can we make a move and put this in motion right now?
Thank you, Chairwoman Houston. I was looking at your policy right now, and what I would say that it requires is that the superintendent to issue periodic guidance through school board plans or resolutions. And I think that's how the information would get out to the school community. In terms of changing the policy itself, I don't actually see it address the outdoors. It addresses indoors and it addresses being on the bus, which I understand would stay the same. I think it's supposed to encompass all school property, but I don't think that you would need to do a policy amendment to either do this as like a new plan or guidance or resolution and allow the community to know that they could, have it optional to wear face masks when they're outdoors and to not have the partitions in the classrooms. And then I think that once you move forward to the point where you are doing away with face masks altogether, I actually would have to look at this. I can't remember if this policy sunsets itself or if you have to do so. Because it may just sunset itself, or at that point you may have to change it or just revoke it. But it's really supposed to only be applicable to times of elevated community disease anyway. So you may not need to touch it at all. I don't think you need to.
Okay, so you made your motion, if it approves tonight, that'll just give you the directive to.
I can send out the directive to the premises.
All right, I'll second Ms. Nelson's motion. Is there any further discussion on this? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Oh, Dr. Mundy, now that we've just discussed that. Pre-K. Right now I only visit one or two of your pre-K classrooms. They have to play with their own toys. They're not allowed to be in the housekeeping. I don't know if that's teacher choice or if that's your choice or if that's state choice. What are your thoughts on that? Can they start? I'm just very concerned about sharing, communication, turn-taking. They're not getting very much of that when they have to play with their toys that they're It's really sad. It's very quiet.
Madam Chair, if I may, so at the beginning of the school year, we talked about possibilities of things that we could do to keep children safe, and that was one of the things. So what each classroom is doing was to fit their own comfort level with that, but we can definitely talk about it and see what we can come up with. I mean, we still want to have safety first.
Right, of course.
But yeah.
But perhaps we could, that kitchen needs to be used.
Yeah. We'll talk about it.
Thank you. That makes my heart very happy. I appreciate it. Okay, that's all I talked about.
Right.
Thank you.
I would just like to welcome our new CFO, Ms. Cox, and I like to call him Jason Bourne, but that's not his real name, it's Jason Brown. Feel free to join in and call him Jason Bourne as well. Ms. Cox and Board Member Sammernick and I will be attending Howling the Hills, an extended finance forum for school board members. But, I know that we are still reeling from having some turnover in the CFO position, and I was wondering when we're going to get started on our budget workshops, and I do not want to be rolling in on the 11th hour saying, you got to sign here. You have no choice but to approve this tonight. So I want to give our board a chance to
to get our information out there. I know you are like drinking from a fire hydrant right now. And, but just wanted to put that on your plate in that request, and talk about, our anticipated increases or decreases in revenues, and, a briefing about categoricals. Because I know those change every single year, as the legislature changes, the priorities do, and they always attach their priorities to the money. And then just what we're looking like with budgeted expenditures this far for each site, and as well as the impacts of, I'd like to get a financial analysis on the chart, the statewide, the DOA, what's it called, the DOA?
DAOF.
DAOF, all right, and bring that forward and have that discussion. Strategic plan survey responses, have we got all that back?
Yes, we're still working on that. Matter of fact, our team has some work in the morning to do, and we will. We did get quite a few back on the survey. We're probably going to push it out one more time, but I was pleasantly surprised we got the amount that we did back the first go around. But we'll do it again, and we're going to do some in-person meetings coming up probably within the next 10 days or so. But tomorrow we will set the date for that and get those meetings pushed out as well.
I mean, I'm not being critical. I just feel like as a board member, and I don't know if my colleagues are feeling this, I don't feel very knowledgeable about this process and how it's rolling out.
Sure.
It was a little surprising to me just to see that survey. It's the same survey that's going out in other Hartland counties.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's the same company.
Yep, and I have reached out and I've asked, the head is supposed to be providing as I've requested a copy of like the contract just to see the scope of the services they provide, and we haven't received that
Didn't
yet.
get it? Okay.
So I just, we're moving towards this, but I don't feel like I have a good grasp of the process.
Sure. And we can help you with that, but one of the things that they wanted to do is they really didn't want the school board involved, and their strategy behind that was they didn't want you guys at meetings, they didn't want you guys involved because they want objective opinions on what the parameter is, evaluates our
about
business.
that level of participation.
Sure.
I'm talking about how does this roll out?
Oh, okay.
What's the timeline? How does this,
Right.
explain, I want to know about how they're having this meeting, and, that's
Sure.
not where we're supposed to be.
Got it.
And, I want to see in writing what these, because we've asked community partners to fund this, what the metrics of success are.
Sure.
And, what their end game is and what they're seeking, and the questions that they're asking. So just those, and also I know that we're having some, like our third round of diagnostics coming up and a lot of subjects. I would like to see an analysis. I don't want it to be, super time intensive, just to see, I know it's still up in the air. The DOE hasn't said if they're going to make the FSA results punitive or high stakes this year. They haven't completely ruled on that. But I'd like to see where we're at, and particularly as it applies to brick and mortar students, the performance of brick and mortar students and our online, because also our friends in Pasco County shut down the online learning for next year. And so I want to see if that is something that is justified by data. And so hopefully a little data to help us guide that decision. And then, it takes us a while to find out what the true FSA results are. But if we're confident in our diagnostic results, that helps us plan going forward next year based on where we're at now. All right.
Awesome.
Do you have anything?
My turn?
Yeah, your turn.
I would like to take just a moment and give, I know Ms. Cox has been recognized a couple times, but I just want to give you all a little bit of background. Starting the third week, so she's Tuesday, so she's been 2 weeks and 2 days into the position so far. We have had just some phenomenal hires out of Lee County. She went straight into Lee County right out of high school and worked through her education piece and into the finance department, and worked our way up into the finance department, and comes to us very highly credentialed and recommended. and so far has just been a complete asset to our finance department. Brought a breath of fresh air, a fresh perspective, a new set of eyes, if you will. Very refreshing to work with. Already got a good dose of Mr. Yanisek, and I mean that in a good way. He came spent quite a bit of time with her, and giving her kind of the overview of the purview of the department and from his perspective and the direction and how to prepare budgets, AFRs, and things which she was already very well versed in anyway. But nonetheless, we're very proud to have her. She not only fits us from a professional standpoint, but she's a rural person at heart, has very similar interests to the rural district, and so very anxious to see what the future holds there. And and to introduce Mr. Brown, I will say this, and I read this morning, and this is a quote that I read this morning, and it said that if you want achievement you've never had, you've got to be willing to do things you've never done. Does that make sense? Well, from a rural district standpoint, for our district to be able to take on a dedicated school safety expert is an absolute phenomenal task for a rural district in Florida. It was Dr. Egley's idea of how to reorganize the scheme so that we can make that happen. Mr. Brown comes to us, a law enforcement officer, a whole lifetime with that in Michigan, worked his way south all the way to Monroe County, where he is highly credentialed as a school safety expert and has several years of that under his belt. Having him here and being able to add the layer of security and safety, that's really, parents drop their kids off to us, they want to ensure that they are safe and that they're educated. And those are two of the main tasks that we have every day. And now we have one of the best people in the state, arguably in the nation, overlooking the safety of our schools. Dr. Egley has done a fine job with it, but he's had to do it in the routine of a juggling act amongst everything else that he's done. And so I'm very excited about the changes and the layers of support and help and safety that Mr. Brown is going to be bringing forward. I'm sure at some point in time y'all will want to meet, interact, get him to go over things with you. He may want to talk to you about things. And the same with Ms. Cox. I would like to do, we've got some things coming over the next month and a half that I don't want to blindside y'all. I would like to schedule some individual time with each of you to go over that, maybe over the next week to 10 days. Perhaps that'd be a good chance for Ms. Cox and I both to sit down with each of you to go over where we are in the cycle, our plans for the budget, where we are with DAOF and that contract and the state appropriations and all those fun things that fall under her bill as well. So I will work towards scheduling those. I've already gotten some of them down, but we'll continue scheduling those as well. Don't forget our next meeting, the LaBelle meeting in 2 weeks from tonight, will be at the new boardroom location at the Outreach Center. So didn't want y'all to go to the courthouse and go upstairs. That's what I was afraid would happen. So we'll be at the new center. Hope you like the place. It looks very nice. Mr. Buson's team and contractors have done a phenomenal job and a very, very nice place for us. So I'm looking forward to that. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Again, Ms. Sanchez, I wanted to thank you guys for the presentation and the book. I just love this. It's great. So thanks again for that. Thanks for everybody for being here. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.